Thank you for joining me for this week's Homeowners Be Aware podcast. I want you to stop what you're doing for just a moment and imagine what your life would be like if you lost everything, and I mean everything. Your house, possessions, family members you loved. Sadly, we see this happen every time we have a major disaster in this country. Today, I want to share the story of Trixie Parkes. Trixie and her father lived across from the beach in Fort Myers Beach, Florida. They had a beautiful home and a great life, and then Hurricane Ian struck and changed things forever. As you celebrate this holiday season with your family and friends, I hope you'll take 30 minutes to hear Trixie's story. I'm George Siegal, and this is Homeowners Be Aware, the podcast that teaches you everything you need to know about being a homeowner. Trixie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. Always nice to see you.
Yes, it's our second time getting together. I interviewed you recently for the documentary film we're making, Built to Last, Buyer Beware. Sadly, you were a tragic story from Hurricane Ian in Fort Myers Beach. Tell us about what happened to you.
Oh gosh. Well, you know what? It's like a never-ending story, honestly. I've been a resident of Florida my whole entire existence, by choice, not by choice. You're born here, you kind of stay here. And so I've lived on the East Coast, and then when I moved over to the West Coast, I've been here for, 20 something years. And we had a home and a business right on Fort Myers Beach. Everything was, just going as supposed to be going, the way you just live your life and you don't think about anything. And then September 28th came, Hurricane Ian, and everything is gone. My whole entire existence is somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico, I guess. So it was the first time in my life living in Florida that I actually lost everything.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible what we saw down there. Now, the house, the location where your home was, it's actually across the street from the beach, but that doesn't stop the water from getting to your house, does it?
Yeah. So, I mean, you think, okay, so that's a great way to put it, because there was really truly no rhyme or reason, and there isn't, to any kind of weather disaster. Don't even try to make sense of it. Don't even try to say, well, if I move here, I'll be okay. If I move there, we're across the street from the beach, and we had, I think, something like 15 to 18 foot storm surges. I had a home up on, high level, and it gutted me all the way through to the top level, gutted me through. And the house across the street on the water also was gutted, but still standing. And then the one next, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Yes, I got devastated, definitely 100% devastated.
Was your house elevated at all, or was it slab on grade?
It was elevated. It was on concrete, pilings. And again, doesn't matter. The bottom part of it was completely gutted through, so that was empty, an empty shell. And then the top part on top of the pilings, that was gutted as well. So I think that you think you're going to build up high, but what happens when you're 15-foot storm surges? How high can you actually go? How high can you go? I don't know. So,
In,
I mean, I
in
guess between the wind, the water, maybe a tornado, who knows what happened? It all just kind of came together. It was a complete weather disaster. That's all I can call it. So,
in looking at what your house used to be when it was there, is there any way you think it could have been built that would have survived this? Is it because it was older? Can you look at it now and go, wow, if we had had this so many feet into the ground and it had been elevated to this code, that maybe we would still have a home?
that's great. That's a great question. And again, I go back to thinking about things like that. If we would have done something different, I can't say. First of all, I'm not a builder. I'm just a person who, oh wow, that's actually, I had no choice to live there. That my family lived there. So Oh, I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
No, that's
So
okay. We can edit that part out. Don't
yeah, we'll
worry.
edit. I'm sorry, he's being annoying. So,
No
okay.
problem.
So having a choice. So if I look at the guy next door and he built a house, um, because built onto his house. So he had like a regular kind of beach house, and then he started building concrete and concrete. He still has his house, but he's still, got gutted underneath. So part of his house is gone, part of it is there. Um, are codes different? I don't know. Do people really know? Like, I mean, can a human being know what is going to be? I'm no expert. I just experienced a hurricane. I'm no expert. I don't know. I can tell you living in Florida my whole life, the progression of where I lived before and where I live now, and the differences in how I experienced hurricanes. I experienced hurricanes my whole life. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert either. I can tell you that what experts do tell me is that newer structures and structures built for the hazard in the area tend to survive better, but that doesn't help clearly when you have an older structure like that. Now, your situation also brought into play your father was older. He was experiencing some health issues, and the insurance lapsed on your property. Talk about that.
Oh gosh, oh my gosh, I'm feeling the pain of of that situation. So, just on a personal note, I mean, kind of brings tears to my eyes because I'm dealing with that right now. So a year and something later, a year and a few months later, I'm having to go back and kind of pick up the pieces of what my 89-year-old father with dementia started. Okay, so he started this legacy when he was, in his 60s or whatever, and now the legacy is ended because of the decisions that he made as a leader of our family. So we got the home, but then he didn't take care of it. So at the end of his, life, he had dementia and he canceled our insurance. So I ended up with nothing except bills. So I had nobody to guide me. I was all alone. I know that sounds really sappy, but I was all alone and no guidance whatsoever. And nobody had my back and nobody told me what to do. And when I went to go, I get a little upset. I get a little So when I went to go call about insurance, I was informed at that time, maybe a couple weeks after the hurricane, that we had no insurance. That, oh, your Mr. DeFeo, your dad canceled the hurricane insurance. And he did that. And let me tell you why he did. As I thought back, he did it because he's 89 and he lived in Florida for, 60 years. And he never really experienced this devastation, so he thought he would be okay. That's all. I think it's just out of pure, you think you're going to be okay. You really do. So I had no insurance and nobody to guide me, and it's been really hard. I'm not going to lie. It's been really hard.
Well,
So.
it's understandable, and it's hard to imagine all the pain and challenges that you're having to deal with. Now, after the storm, you went and escaped to the wilderness for a while, right? You went off out into the woods to get to clear your head, but you still suffer from PTSD from this, don't you? I mean, this is a life-altering tragedy.
100% PTSD. So I really, truly, knowing myself, the hippie girl that I said, I got to get out of here, especially because I didn't have any guidance. I was all alone. The person that I would ask questions to had died, my dad. So I was just, kind of fumbling and my head was in a fog. I couldn't make any decisions. So I bought an RV and I literally went to the woods. I was in Idaho, I was in Montana, I was in Wyoming, I was unplugged from the world. I didn't know what was going on. Great for my head, bad for when I came back because when I got back, I was hit with all this stuff, back taxes that my dad didn't pay. Oh my God, the things that I'm going through. Oh, so and now I forget the question.
No,
uh
the question was more about just you're still reliving this. I mean,
oh yeah.
you don't just walk away from it.
No, no, no. So even though you try to walk away, so I went into the woods and I unplugged, but then I came back And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm having a hard time being in the world right now. I kind of lose my sense of, I don't know how to deal with things. I'm not gonna lie, because my family, not knowing, I don't think they do it on purpose. Just people I know. Oh, yeah. Oh, I have this brand new $70,000 car, and oh, I just got my Tory Burch shoes, and oh, I have this and I have that. And I just look at them like, uh, what's going on inside of me is I want to explode, and I want to scream at them and say, I lost everything, my earrings, my shoes, my everything. And you're telling me about all the new things that you're getting. And should I be upset? Should I be happy for them? I don't know. I have a mix of emotions, but really what it does inside, it makes me want to explode. And then I just go and I retreat. And I just can't. I'm thinking to myself, this is so unfair. Why am I going through this? It's so like, do you people not understand what this feels like? So yeah, I relive it consistently. And part of that is I just hide. And I don't think that's a good idea either. So, you
Well,
know,
I think that whatever coping mechanism you need to use, it's kind of hard to question it when you look at something like that, and a common theme in everybody that I've interviewed after a disaster that lost everything, there's just that feeling. Describe what that feeling is like when you wake up with nothing.
nothing. Yeah, it's nothing. It's I don't know, for me, and I've always been a really like giving person. Like I give, right? I'm always that person that has helped everybody. And I didn't have a lot, but I always helped. And I'm now like feeling like all the life has been sucked out of me. Really, it's a struggle every day to wake up and just want to go on with the world because, and that I know that sounds really dramatic, but that's how I really truly feel. I'm like, not that your stuff or your cards or your shoes, identify you, um, but we work for them and they make us happy. And nobody said you have to be, living in with no shoes and, in a tent. That's not what we're here for. And I had everything and now I have nothing. And, people say, oh, but you're alive. Yes, I'm alive, but I'm alive with a lot of trauma inside of me. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's a catchphrase that does victims absolutely no good. When somebody says, well,
yeah,
at least you're alive. Oh, you don't have cancer. I mean, there's always a scenario that can be worse, but it
yeah.
doesn't make the tragedy you're experiencing just vanquish and go away.
Right. And I always say everybody, whatever your tragedy is, right? So whatever mine isn't worse or better, yours isn't worse or better. It's just, it is your own personal journey of your tragedy and how you deal with it. And honestly, I really kind of just, I try not to talk about it anymore because I think, and maybe this is true, maybe it isn't, but I think that people around me, my friends, my family, they don't want to hear about it. They're like, oh, get over it. It's been a year and a half, move on, right? Okay, yeah, easy for you to say as you're celebrating the holidays with your family, as you're, driving in your new cars, as you're going about your everyday business. I'm still living the tragedy. I'm still living with trauma inside of my soul. I'm telling you, every day something comes up. Every day I get a phone call. Oh, well, it's the
Y-
things that are happening to me, but the things my dad did prior, and now after the hurricane, and I'm still paying like bills that came up during the hurricane. And I try to explain to people, well, I didn't have an address and I lost things. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who cares? We heard it all. We don't care. We've heard it all. And nobody wants to hear it. And
Yeah.
they really don't. So I try not to complain and I just say, okay, and if I get one thing done a day, I've accomplished a huge amount. And I used to be this, business owner and go-getter, and I did everything. And now I'm just like, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Well, I think
True.
it says a lot more about some of the people you're around possibly than around you because than
Yeah.
than than about you because it sounds like a lack of empathy for something that was a real tragedy that
Right.
you're still living. Now, right now, you're house sitting for somebody in that area where you're on
Yeah.
the beach. You've lived
Yeah.
in a motorhome. Could you see yourself going back to a house? Do you like the freedom of not having that responsibility? Are your eyes now open to owning something is too risky?
Yes. Yeah. So, as I have gone through the travels, my family said, "Oh, you got to buy a house, you got to buy a house." But let me tell you how I truly, truly feel inside. When you work really, really hard, and then then you just look at a piece of dirt after your house goes and your cars go and your shoes go. I'm scared to death to make any kind of investment. I know this sounds so dramatic, and maybe in a few years I'll change. I'm scared to death to make an investment in something for maybe, possibly a 1% chance, a 90% chance, a who knows percent chance that I could lose it all again. Because once you lose it all, oh, that is my greatest fear. It's my greatest fear. So I have very little, very little. I'm very minimal. I can get in my RV and I can escape, and it wouldn't. If bad weather's coming, I'll go somewhere else. I mean, I'm telling you, truth be told, in my heart of hearts, I don't think I'll ever buy anything or own anything um, of great value.
That
That
makes perfect sense. Now, are you able to get any value for the lot that your home was on?
Well, I don't know. So, I looked around at the area and, nothing's selling right now. And, I do need to sell it. I'll be honest with you, because now since the hurricane and having no insurance, I've been putting money out rather than being able to, survive. So I don't know. People are selling some lots, but not a lot. And I'm not, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if people even want to come. I don't know. We'll wait, because now it's season on Fort Myers Beach, and people don't care. They just want to come to the beach. They live in Michigan. They want to come to the beach. They don't care that there's nothing to do here. They want to come. So I guess we'll see what happens during the season if people are interested in owning. And I think people still are. I don't know why, but they are. So.
Where are people staying when they come down there? Because I was struck by over a year past the hurricane, it looked like it was a mess there.
It's a mess. I have no idea. So in the prior to Hurricane Ian, oh my gosh, everybody and their brother owned a vacation rental. Everybody, me and my next door neighbors and everybody else. And that's what we did. That's how we made our living. There's really none. So I think there's like a couple, I think there's a hotel, a resort, and then now Margaritaville is open. And that's wow, 700 a night. So good luck. Good for them if you can afford that. Seriously, really, I'm not staying there. So I don't know. I think they're staying off the beach and driving. There's some new hotels that have been built. Um, but I'm on the beach. It's like Death Valley here. I'm sorry, there's nothing here. It's pretty depressing. Yeah.
Are they giving you any sense of in the community how long they think it will take for everything to get back up to speed? I know it took several years in Mexico Beach, in the panhandle of Florida. Do they give people a sense of, wow, this is a 10-year project, this is a 5-year project? What do you
Uh,
hear?
you hear different things from different people. There's condos that I know people live in, and they're not able to get into them until next winter 2024. So 2 years of waiting, and that's a maybe. There's nothing guaranteed. So we're not having a guarantee of, okay, on January 15th everything's going to be in this shape. Nobody knows, because people are coming in, and I mean, there's constant workers constantly, you see the electricians and you see the plumbers and you see the construction workers, and there is stuff going on, but then in certain areas, there's just nothing. There's still the dead, gutted building that's for sale, the gutted, you know, um, church. And can I tell you, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I know from just like what you said from Mexico Beach and all, sometimes it takes 5 to 10 years. So,
Now, I really don't know how to describe this to people, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. If you're in Fort Myers, where all the strip malls are and all the hotels and everything, life looks like it's normal. But then you drive down to Fort Myers Beach and it's a war zone down there.
It's a war zone. It is. Yeah. And I think that, you know what has happened? You're right. So people are coming it's not the old Fort Myers Beach that they knew when they'd come over the bridge and, oh, there was all this life and it's nothing like that. All you see is, sand, and which is great, but dead trees and broken buildings and gutted buildings. And personally, if it were me and I didn't have to be here, this would be the last place I'd want to come. I'll be really honest with you. But they don't seem to care. I don't know. They're driving, they come over. So I think they're staying over the bridge. They're coming, they're spending the day on the beach, la, 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 and then going back. But there's nothing here. There's a little area in Times Square, they call it, with a couple of, what do you call them? Food trucks, Margaritaville, and that's pretty much it. And all these people, I'm sorry, it makes me ill. I'm an owner and they're driving here and they're gawking and they're driving 5 miles an hour to look at all the devastation that we lived in. And that triggers my PTSD like you would not believe. When I'm walking and I'm seeing people and they're still doing it, literally 5 miles an hour, looking at our homes, our death, what we experience. And then I'm triggered all over again. So the triggering of the PTSD happens pretty much every day for me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that happens all the time after a disaster. Now, we do want to give a shout out to the businesses that are there that are working. There's a great little coffee place down the street from you that I had some coffee at. And then there's a yacht club area further down the road that we had an amazing lunch there. So there are businesses that are working that if you're down there, it's great to support them.
Yes. Oh yeah, you did. I think you went over.
You told us to go there. It was great.
Yes. And it was bustling, right?
Yeah, it was. And the food was wonderful. It was
I'm
great.
so glad. Yeah. Yeah. So we love that. I mean, that's like a local Yoko place too. So we're happy that there's some place like that. So, so we're happy that there's a place like that. And I'm glad that you experience that. And in my heart, do I want the old life back up? Yeah, of course, we all do. We all do. We want to go. I was a frequent flyer of that restaurant when it was somewhere else. I don't know. It's going to be different. It's just going to be different. And I wasn't the person that was visiting. I was a working person here. So I didn't always do all the vacation things that everybody does. I just wanted to go to my little local restaurant, have my mimosas on Sunday, meet my friends and be done, and then go back to work. So,
yeah,
I don't know what it's going to be. And now I can't do any of those things. So anything that I do is off of Fort Myers Beach. And, luckily, things are happening out there, but the beach, I'm not so sure. Yeah.
Now, if a community has a sound infrastructure and a plan, the path back sometimes is faster than if they don't have that. When we interviewed you for the film, you made it clear that you felt that Fort Myers Beach was really unprepared for this.
I think they're completely unprepared. I think that I started doing a lot of research and I started doing some writing. I'm writing a book, right? So my book started out one way and now it's starting out as living in Florida my whole life and all the hurricanes that I experienced and how absolutely ignorant government can be. And I'm not sure how much they can do. I can't tell you. Of course, we have the weather people that say get prepared, but I don't care how many sandbags you put or how many, whatever you're preparing for. It doesn't matter because we humans cannot control what Mother Nature does, right? So that hurricane's coming in. So I think in my experience, people are living on your beach, they're living in a coastal town, they're living on the Gulf of Mexico, which is probably the worst place for hurricanes in my opinion. And there was they could have started this a long time ago. I don't know, some kind of barrier or some kind of protection. again, I'm no expert. I don't know how that all works. I don't know anything of that. But wouldn't you think that they would maybe be proactive as opposed to reactive? And now you have to go back and pick up the pieces, literally pick up the pieces. And there's got to be a way. There's got to be some engineers out there that can say, this is what we can do to help this community. We can start with, and again, I don't know, some kind of barrier or some kind of bridge or some kind of, I don't know, dam. I don't know what people do, but anyway, that's how I think about it. They're not prepared. No. And you think they would be.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question, and it's amazing. But I think it's not only the people at the top; it's all of us at the bottom that go, well, I want to live here. I know the risk. They just don't think it's going to happen to them. So as you watch them start to rebuild Fort Myers Beach, if they're not doing it much differently, to me, that just means it can very likely happen again.
Oh, well, there comes for me the reason why I'm never going to do this again ever, because I know it's going to happen. And then I started thinking about how what my parents, they came here in 1960 from Pennsylvania to live that dream. I'm going to live on the beach. I'm going to live in Florida. I'm going to have great weather. I don't know at that point, because I can't ask them, if they really thought about what the risks were. I mean, you hear about hurricanes, and honestly, I think they've gotten worse. They're getting worse and worse and worse and worse over the years. They're getting worse. I lived through them to Cat 2s, Cat 3s. Now all of a sudden a Cat 5 is coming, and they're coming more often. Right. I think the Cat 2s and Cat 3s are like, so who cares? Cat 5s are on them. They're coming. And I lived through, I'm here to tell you that a Cat 5 is, it's no joke. And I
Yeah, it
just,
makes it. There's a lot of value. It seems like Babcock Ranch, which is about 40 minutes from where you are. They're
yeah,
35 feet up. They built a community with the plan of surviving hurricanes. They're not close to the water,
right.
yet those people are living their lives and are just fine today. That seems to be an interesting trade-off.
Right. Well, okay, so they're out. I know where they're at, so that's a great place. They're out east, but they do have the risk of the Caloosahatchee River there. So I'm not sure where that is in location to them, but out in that east area is I don't think they're close to that, but a lot of people out there in the east, they have the Caloosahatchee River that does surge.
Yeah, they have a plan there for getting water out of the community, and it seems to have been very effective in the hurricane. The point is, at least they're trying to do something, and
Yes.
it appears to be very effective. Looking at what happened in Fort Myers Beach, it's hard to say to somebody, go live by the water.
I think that I'm just gonna say, I just think people truly, they get blinded by their dreams, by their hopes, by this person who's lived in the cold winter forever and ever in Michigan or Minnesota or Wisconsin. And even though, and let me tell you, they have no clue, because I had renters from Wisconsin, and right after the hurricane, they're like, okay, well, can we come down? And I'm like, you have no clue. There's nothing there. And I would start getting like angry, like, you have no clue. And I think those people would still come, and they would still want to live on the beach if they could buy something or get something for not a lot of money, or they thought it was a great investment. I think they would still do it. I think they would still take their chances, because we always say it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. People say it all the time, right? It's not going to happen to me. That's a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah, I think we all live that way. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I think I'll get in a car accident today. I think I'll have a Category 5 hurricane wipe out my life. We don't think that way, and it catches up to us. So now, having been through what you're living through now, is the cost of living in paradise worth it?
I don't think so at all. I think that, oh my gosh, there's so many other places you could live, really. So beautiful. I've seen the country and there's some amazing places. You want water, you can have water, but you can do it by a lake, right? How about a lake? Lakes are nice. So I don't think so. I think that what people are selling land for here and what people are doing, good luck. Good luck to you, but beware. I'm just going to say, do your homework. I don't think we're on steady ground here.
Well, the film that we're making is called Built to Last, Buyer Beware. And the
Yeah.
beware seems to be something that most people aren't because we're all enamored by where we want to be. And we
Yeah.
tend to fall in love before we understand what we're falling in love with.
That's exactly right. That's exactly my point. Like, I think people are blinded. I do. I think what you can have, you're going to make an amazing documentary, right? It's going to be beautiful and it's going to be really important for people to see. I'm going to tell my story. Maybe other people are going to tell their story. I don't, if you want to listen, you will. If you want to educate yourself, you will. Who's going to do that? I mean, I think you're right. I think people just get enamored with the idea of living in paradise. That's it.
Yeah, I think everybody that lives in Florida is somewhat guilty of that. We hope it's not going to happen to us, and we see it keep happening year after year. And most recently here in Tampa, we had just a winter storm that flooded houses. So people who were flooded by Idalia during hurricane season just got walloped after hurricane season was over by a storm that they didn't even expect would cause that kind of damage.
Right. And so so I ask you, why is that, like, if you could get yourself, like, if you could prepare yourself and say, this could happen, why would you, like, is it so important? I'm just not a Florida fan. I don't know, but is it so important to have that view, have your toes in the sand for that risk? I don't think so. I think the world is a beautiful place, and I had no choice, right? So I was born here because my parents came here. But if I had a choice, and I do, I wouldn't stay here. I would definitely not stay here. So.
So, as some parting advice, then, what would you tell people who are thinking of moving here or that go, "Hey, my dream is to live at the beach. I'm retiring. I'm going to take everything and buy this place right by the water." What advice would you have for people?
Well, it's coming from a point of sadness, and it's coming from a point of a person who actually, lived a tragedy. And I would say, come visit, but don't buy anything. You want to enjoy the beach? Come visit. Sure, great. Put your toes in the sand. I wouldn't invest in anything here. I mean, I just go back to my 89-year-old dad who, was just a regular guy, a barber when he was a kid, a barber and a singer, and then a cop. And then he had this dream to have, and he had several places. They had places in Pembroke Pines. They had places in Key Largo. We had places here in Fort Myers Beach. And now we have nothing. And I mean, I can't even imagine some person coming after they've retired and worked their whole life and taking the chance but I just would not do it. Come and visit, really, come visit. That's good. And help the businesses grow that that are here on the beach, come visit, but I wouldn't buy anything. Stay where you are, come visit.
It's like people who have older people who have grandkids, and they find that so much easier than their kids because you get to send them back. So you
You
go to
just
the beach for the day, but then you go home someplace safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that weird? But I think that's a I think so.
I don't know if it's weird because, to be honest with you, I love living in Florida. I'm terrified of what can happen because of all I've been doing with my job. So
Right.
I'm very aware of the dangers, but I haven't moved yet. So I'm just as guilty as everybody else.
Right. And you came here, you came here from New York? Where'd you come here from?
I came here from Texas, where we
Oh,
happened to live in a neighborhood that was not going to flood. It was safe. And now we're living in a place that every time there's a hurricane, we're in a flood zone. Now we have what we think is a safe house, but you never know.
No, no, you never know. I mean, I remember my first house in the 1960s, and it was my dad built this house, and it was a sturdy house. I'm not gonna lie, it was a sturdy house. We lived through many hurricanes, but it was in a completely different area. It wasn't on the beach, it wasn't on the water, it was inland, and it was a rock solid house. It still stands today, and it was built in 1960. They don't make houses like that anymore. I'm not gonna lie. Every house is a stick house. I'm watching them build new houses somewhere here in Fort Myers, and they're still sticks. How do they get away with it? I don't know. Why are people buying them? Because they're cheap? I don't know. Not worth.
Yeah, that's it exactly. That's why, first of all, shame on whoever's building it. I
Yeah.
had a guy I interviewed recently, a builder here in Tampa, who won't build houses that he doesn't deem safe. That he has a standard that he says, look,
Good.
I'm not going to build unsafe houses. But I think that it starts with us. We have to demand it because somebody's always going to try to make a living and sell you something. You don't have to buy it.
Right. 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 That's right. Well,
You
are
can use
they?
that as the title of your book if you want. You don't have to buy it.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm working on the title right now. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey,
That's
Trixie,
fun. I like that. Yeah.
you were great when we interviewed you. And I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Thank you so much for coming on today. I want to let people know how to get in touch with you, if you email me that, I'm going to put it in the show notes. And so people can follow you. So when that book comes out, they can read it. And I want you to definitely get me a copy. I'm not asking for a free one. I definitely will buy your book.
Oh, I
But
love
I
it.
look forward to reading that as well.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Really, you're doing great work, and keep it going, because I think the more you put the word out there, maybe somebody will listen.
Thanks, Trixie. Take care. Thank you for joining me today. If you have a story about your home, either good or bad, I'd love for you to share it with me. There's a contact form in the show notes. Fill it out. You might be a guest on an upcoming podcast. Thank you again for listening. See you next time.